All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, episode 82. That's right. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, the team up is the thing as we look at our favorite ensemble films. This is episode 82, our favorite ensembles. An ensemble film is one where the main cast is composed of top-tier actors all sharing part of the spotlight, meaning that the actors and actresses in the film all get varying amounts of equal screen time, so that it's more of a collaborative effort than focusing on one actor or actress. Note, this is not a best of list. We're not doing one of those countdown lists or brackets or anything like that. We're picking our personal favorites, or at least some of our favorites. If you'd like to add to the list for a future shout out on the show, you can drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at filmsfermented, or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. As usual, this episode is brought to you by Dubby. Dubby is an all-natural energy drink. Uses a patented all-natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you. This ingredient is what gives Dubby its laser focus and fast reflexes, making it the perfect drink for gamers everywhere. Dubby contains important amino acids and vitamins that canned energy drinks simply do not have. Dubby never uses fillers or artificial colors. It's a sugar-free and keto-friendly alternative energy drink. Choose from flavors such as Dragonade, Beach and Peach, and Galaxy Grenade. Guaranteed to boost energy without giving you the jitters. Go to dubby.gg to order today. Use the promo code FILMSFERMENT and receive 10% off every order, every time. Dubby, be better.
Dubby!
.gg. I feel like at some point I'm going to have to rewrite the promos and do like an interactive one where all three of us can kind of get in on it.
Mm-hmm.
do like a phony script.
Make it conversational.
Make it conversational, because a lot of the podcasts I listen to, that's what a lot of them do. They do like conversational ad reads.
Gee shucks, Leo. I just feel overwhelmed and run down, but I don't like the jitters.
Hey, Kev, have you ever felt yourself sluggish while playing PlayStation?
All the time. All the time.
Or like the Newsly one could be like, hey, you ever wish that the news was read to you in a natural human voice?
Yes, my favorite sounds like this.
So what are we drinking this evening, gentlemen? Kevin, you got an interesting looking drink in front of you, I think, because I see a giant straw in my
yes. And you guys know I'm not one to really think of anything over the top, or sometimes I'm just lazy. Let's face it. My wife tells me this all the time. I'm lazy from time to time, but I think I'd win if we were doing a themed drink. All right. So I have truly the ensemble drink right here. Can you gentlemen kind of guesstimate what it might be?
Long Island
It's Long Island.
Long Island iced tea. My ensemble of triple sec, tequila, rum, vodka, and gin, with a cameo appearance from Coca-Cola. And this is my wedding drink, guys. This is not my wedding drink, but like this is, if I'm going to a wedding and I am not the driver, this is my going to get, messed up really quick kind of thing. So I thought, that is the perfect ensemble. That's all the big clears with a little bit of color. So I was a little heavy-handed, I think, on the vodka this time, but the next one should be better.
Mike, what you got going on?
I am drinking a beer from my good friend Kevin. The Elysian Night Owl Pumpkin Ale.
Nice.
Drinking one of the ones that he left behind in your fridge.
Yes.
They were intentionally left behind. It's not like I forgot them.
Yes. It's not bad. It's pretty good.
I decided as far as theme goes, I was going to do a beer ensemble. Since Kevin, so I'm also drinking beers from my friend Kevin. So you gave me the mystery pack on my birthday. I actually drank one already the other night, and it was really good. I have to look it up on Untappd because I don't remember the full name of it. But I had it was a beer I've had a beer from this place before, but not this particular one.
Okay.
So it was. Now I got to do the sorting. When was the last one I did? Date new to old. There we go. It was from a company called River Horse Brewing Company,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
it was the Triple Horse. It was a Belgian triple, and it was really. And you know how tough I am with my ratings on Untapped. I gave this one
Yeah.
4.25, which is really good for me.
Wow.
Absolutely.
It was a very good beer. So I decided for tonight's ensemble, I grabbed 3 beers from the mystery pack. All 3 were very strange beers that I've never had before. And I was going to let you guys choose the first one I'm going to try.
Okay.
So we have, or this one's not too strange. This is from Founders, which I've had before, and it's their
Mhm.
porter, but it's called the Rich and Sexy Porter. Okay, that's the first one.
All right.
The second one is from Lord Hobo Brewing Company. It's called the Ocho. It is a Mexican-style chocolate stout.
Ooh.
Which I'm interested in.
Mexican chocolate.
And then this is the one that kind of scares me. This is from what the hell's the name of the brewery? This is I can't even find the name of the brewery on this place. It's from Cooperstown, New York. It's a product of Belgium, it says, but I can't find the name of the brewery. The beer is called Cherry Soufflé. It is a beer with natural flavors colored with vegetable juice.
Oh my God.
So, gentlemen, which one should I experiment with first in my beer
Oh,
ensemble?
the cherry souffle.
The
cherry
You want to know
souffle.
about the vegetable juice, right?
Yeah.
Well, that way, if you don't like it, you have 2 other beers to wash it down with.
True. And
both porters and like stouts.
I was going to ask you for the ABVs on the 3. If you know.
This one is the cherry souffle with the vegetable juice is 8% alcohol by volume.
Okay.
The Founders Rich and Sexy is 6.5, which is kind of low
Okay.
considering it's a dark porter.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mexican style chocolate stout called Ocho from Lord Hobo is 7% alcohol by volume.
So you're going in descending order.
Yes, the vegetable one is the strongest one. So
It's a countdown. It's the final countdown.
It smells like V8.
Dummy.
All right, here we go. It tastes like V8 with cherries in it. Oh my God.
Excuse me.
It tastes like I can make tomato sauce.
Is
All right.
it thick? Does it taste thick?
It's not a thick beer. It tastes it tastes kind of like a I don't know what to say, like a maybe like an ale or like a saison or something. It's not a thicker one. But man, that is
Okay.
that is an interesting palate. Chocolate, cherry flavored V8.
He's going for the second one.
I'll be honest, I might not make it all the way through that bottle. I don't like to waste beer, but geez.
That's all right. It's the mystery pack. You can't always get a winner, you know.
No. Mike, while I gather myself, why don't you give us a history lesson?
This day in film history. This day in film history in 1993, actor Roger Moore, James Bond, has his enlarged prostate removed.
Wow, that's a lot of like TMI.
I put a crying, laughing emoji at the end of that statement because I couldn't believe that came up as a distinct.
I'm like, was this on Entertainment Tonight in 1993? Roger Moore is having his prostate removed right now.
Oh, you'll be surprised to know that the cherry souffle is no longer in production. And the name of the brewery is Brasserie de Chauffet.
Is it
That's
still in
buffet?
production?
They're from Belgium. We're gonna check it in, and we're gonna give it a.
The order buffet. The order buffet.
I'm gonna give it a 1.5. Low because it's not one that I would drink again, but not too low because it is interesting.
Okay.
Cherry, juicy. Says one of the flavor profiles is almond. I'm not getting that. I'm getting tomato sauce.
V8.
So let's see. Do they have a tomato flavor palette thing here? Let's see.
Mike, how many?
Tomato. Here we go. Tomato.
How many movies was Roger Moore James Bond in? How many did he star as James Bond in?
Oh, jeez.
Wasn't it like 6 or 7, something like that?
Really?
Yeah, what's that?
Is-
It wasn't-
I think Connery had the most.
Okay, Timothy Dalton had the least then, right? Because I'm only picturing him in one or two.
Timothy Dalton was in 2.
Okay.
The least was George Lazenby because he was in 1.
He did one. Yeah, he did
Okay.
one.
He was the guy between Moore and Connery.
It was.
That's a question. I'm gonna look that up.
Yep.
So yeah, I put getting back to Roger Moore's prostate. I put a laughing face emoji thing there because I'm like I know, Mike, you looked this up on an actual website, right? This info.
Whoopsie.
On the
It's
website
just,
I use for all this stuff.
it's just funny to me that's that was the major factor.
I hear they have it on display at Planet Hollywood over in California.
It's at the Mutter Museum on Locust Street.
It looks like there was 7.
Roger Moore was in 7 feature films. It says, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Who played the most James Bond movie? Roger Moore and Sean Connery were each in 7 films.
Okay.
Daniel Craig did 5. Pierce Brosnan did 4. Timothy Dalton did 2. George Lazenby was 1. And then they actually have David Niven down here in 1 as well because he did the original Casino Royale, which I don't think often gets included in the Bond films.
No.
Poor George Laserbeam.
What's your other fact you got for us here, Mike?
In 1998, Shakespeare in Love, directed by John Madden and starring Gwyneth Paltrow and Joseph Fiennes, premieres in New York. Best Picture winner in 1999.
It beat out Saving Private Ryan.
He did this in between doing this stuff for Madden 98 and Madden 2000, right?
This was after Pat Summerall retired. He didn't have anything going on.
I got a great idea for a movie, guys.
It's Shakespeare. He's got a girlfriend. Boom! There's a play. You got Romeo, you got Juliet, there's a knife, there's poison, they're dead. Boom! Everybody goes home.
John Madden, Shakespeare in Love. Hi!
I can't imagine. Oh my God.
Lord.
This was an infamous Best Picture winner, though, because it beat Saving Private Ryan, which was pretty much the hands down, people thought was going to be the winner because it won every other prize, won the Golden Globe, Screen Actors Guild, all that stuff.
And I know you liked Shakespeare in Love. You also
do.
like Saving Private Ryan. Which would you have voted for between the two for Best Picture?
Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
I like Shakespeare in Love. It's a fun film. It's not historically accurate at all.
No.
It's a fun film. It's
not?
got some really good comedic moments. I enjoy the production of Romeo and Juliet at the end. But Saving Private Ryan is a fucking masterpiece.
True.
Saving Private Ryan is damn near a perfect film and probably one of Tom Hanks's best performances.
Mm-mm.
And I actually just rewatched it recently, and I'm like, yeah, this should never have lost Best Picture to Shakespeare in Love. But part of it was, this is back, Harvey Weinstein was in charge of Shakespeare in Love production, and he had did a lot of lobbying around Hollywood about the inaccuracies of Saving Private Ryan and why it shouldn't win Best Picture because of it. In the meantime, he's producing a movie about Shakespeare, where Shakespeare is actually a good-looking guy.
He wasn't?
I mean, if you look at the portraits, he usually looks more like Paul Giamatti than Joe Fiennes.
True. True.
So yeah, I do like the movie, but no, it should never have won. What's your fun drink fact for this evening, Mike?
I'm going to talk to you guys about Kugel's Oktoberfest from Jacob Kugel's Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
I don't know if I should keep drinking this, considering I haven't eaten anything yet.
Can I add a fun drink fact that I saw on TikTok? So it must be true.
Yeah.
Somebody said if you take a Corona Premier and you mix a little amaretto in the Corona Premier and then drink it, it should taste like Dr. Pepper. Now, I don't have any Corona Premier, and I'm almost certain I don't have any amaretto. But I think that would be an experiment. I think that needs to be conducted live during one of our podcasts.
I'd be willing to try it. It has to be better than cherry souffle with natural vegetable juice, which when you drink on an empty stomach makes you feel like you're going to shit yourself. So I'm retiring this drink.
Number 7, sir.
I think I'm going to move on to Ocho Mexican style chocolate stout.
There you go.
Because I'm curious to know
ESPN Ocho.
ESPN Ocho. I'm sorry, Mike. What's your drink fact for this evening?
We're going to talk about this red bronze in a glass with wispy white mustache of foam. This old Wisconsin brewer's version of the classic German fest beer is malty, nutty, and faintly sweet in the bouquet. The roast nut quality increases on the palate without too much toasted flavor from the Munich malt. The malt has a very authentic depth to it, perhaps without the intensity of some traditional Bavarian versions, but also without any heaviness or thickness. This 5.1 ABV Fest remains clean and malty, but infinitely drinkable, as Fest beers were intended. Pleasantly, there is no caramel malt character here, which is often erroneously used in American versions of this style. Kugel's Oktoberfest.
I don't know how to describe this one.
Oh God, he's looking worse.
I'm not sure if my taste buds are damaged from the cherry souffle, but the Hocho one is an odd flavor. It is a full-bodied Mexican chocolate stout, reminiscent of hot chocolate, but well balanced with a pinch of spice. It has a combination of lactose and dark malts.
Oh God, he's in trouble.
That provides the beer with a rich hot chocolate-like taste that is topped off with the Mexican hot chocolate-inspired flavors of cayenne pepper and cinnamon. That's what I'm tasting. Leaves a taste that lingers long after you swallow. Fucking A.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't see this on YouTube, you need to see Leo's faces through this. Watch the YouTube video.
Sure to keep you
Jesus
warm
Christ.
as you head into colder weather months. I don't know.
Is it keeping you warm in these cold winter months?
I'll tell you what, it's keeping me something. Oh God.
Lee, I'll say this for you.
Oh,
for
today
Kevin,
is Stout Day.
Since Kevin gave you these beers,
Stout Day 2022. Here's your drink back for you.
Hey Lee, since Kevin gave you these beers, I'll do this for you.
Okay.
You corned beef drinking motherfucker.
I would have rather had the corned beef beer at this point.
Oh, you guys both like that one too.
I did. I actually did like it.
You're like,
I never tasted it. You
Are
drank
you kidding
it.
me? No.
You
Weren't
guys-
you there? We were at Leo's house.
No.
Oh, I could have sworn I brought one and I asked you and Leo tried it. I could have
Leah
sworn you did.
And I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I never got to try it.
Better than this one. Next time I have hot chocolate, don't think I'm going to put any cinnamon and cayenne pepper in it. Whew, it's not as bad as the cherry one. But
It looks close by your face.
It's difficult to get through. I think I'm just totally fucked in the taste buds right now from the 2 beers I just drank. Like, I'm looking forward to the rich and sexy, but I'm afraid it's not going to taste good because I've already ruined my taste buds.
Or maybe have a buffer in between, you know?
Yeah, like a glass of water.
Yeah, glass of milk.
You know what I'm going to eat with this? You know, since it is a Mexican-style beer with cayenne pepper, I'm going to have a couple hot tamales with it to see if it helps.
Yeah, just put more cinnamon in your system.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to burn my asshole when I shit later.
So notes from last show, Lee.
Yeah, can somebody do that for me? I'm doing.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, I can't read the synopsis on Glip.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Hold on, I got it.
But we can thank Wayne G for Recast Pod.
Yes,
for
Wayne,
us.
thank you for showing up. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was thinking Wayne too.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Wayne, for popping in and going over the recast with the monster movie classics, the Universal monster movie classics. We enjoyed your input. You and I saw eye to eye on on Frankenstein's monster, and you know, it was good. It was good fun, Wayne, and you know, we hope to have you on the show again. And apparently, there's a fun hypothetical. So, our fun hypothetical.
I got it. I know what it is.
Okay, go for it.
There it is, right there. There it was. I gave it to you.
That wasn't a hypothetical. That was quite literally a literal.
Not
okay.
easy hosting the show, is it?
Not when these notes are so vague.
Yeah, we have nothing to read from.
I'm sorry, I don't put enough work into the fucking notes.
Peanuts are neither pea nor nut. Discuss. Hypothetical.
So our glip synopsis from last week's episode, the recasting of the Universal movie monsters, goes like this. The participants talk about scripts for the show, social media for votes, synopsis of the wherewith, length of Dracula, casting of monsters, roles of the Invisible Man, and Coke is not a sponsor.
We said that once.
We really nailed that episode, I think, in that synopsis.
Yeah.
And yes, as Kevin and Mike already said, Wayne G of Recast 2.0 podcast. Thank you for joining us last week for our recasted episode. It was a really fun episode. We got a lot of really cool feedback on it on Good Pods and Spotify and Twitter and all the other places that you can find us. So yeah, thanks again. And that being said, I should give you guys a little recap of Good Pods and where we're at right now.
Thank you very much.
That was a really good episode and a fairly popular episode. So we ended up with the 60th most popular episode of the week out of the top 100 episodes on Good Pod.
Okay.
And of the top 100 shows, we were number 65 on the indie list and 73 on the regular list of the top 100 shows. Of the all TV and film podcast list, we were number 13 on both the indie and regular list. And on the film review podcast Good Pods list, we were number 8 on the regular list of the top 100 film review podcasts, and number 7 on the indie film review podcast.
Single digits.
Single digits. We were number 6 a couple weeks ago. That's our highest so far. So I'm really hoping we can either at least get back to 6, if not, finally get to that 1 spot at some point. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm happy being in the top 10.
Yeah. So our fun hypothetical is this. I was listening to the radio this morning. They were talking about the Phillies game, and they were talking about the walk-up songs and how fun some of the walk-up songs are, and how how fitting they are for certain players and stuff. And I thought it'd be a fun hypothetical to hear what each of you would have as a walk-up song if you were a professional baseball player. So if you were walking to the plate, what song would be playing in the background?
Ooh,
I already know mine because I've had time to think about it.
Well, no kid.
I think. Yeah, I think I have mine. Hold on. Nope, that's not it. That's a commercial. Hold on.
Here you go,
I
try
can't
it.
skip through the commercial. I am going to play the.
What the hell's that? I can't make out what it is. It's not really coming through. What's the name of the song?
Oh, Baby Elephant Walk.
Not Baby
No,
Shark.
I thought that would be a funny one. No, I was thinking Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
Okay.
I like
cool
that
one.
song. Mm-hmm.
I decided mine was going to be Sabotage from the Beastie Boys.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I also thought of Why Can't We Be Friends by Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Mm-hmm.
I think mine would have to be The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Devil Went Down to Georgia?
I got another one, though. I mean, between Thunderstruck and either Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine or Closer by Nine Inch Nails.
Imagine you're walking up the home plate and all of a sudden you hear in the stadium real loud, I want to fuck you like an animal.
You get me closer to God.
Oh, so the Founders Rich and Sexy is my savior this evening because it is a dark, rich porter that actually tastes good.
Oh, good.
I don't know if I was going to make it through the rest of the show with the stuff I just drank. Oh. So we have some shout outs this evening. As I said, oh my God, excuse me. I am suffering from my first two drinks.
Bye, Adrian.
We have a lot of shout outs to make because a lot of people showed us some support this week and helped us get ourselves up on those rankings of Good Pods. Plus, had a lot of nice things to say about the show, that it was a fun episode. They learned a lot. A couple people said it prompted them to go back and listen to the Werewolf by Night episode, which also prompted them to watch the show.
Good.
Watch the movie. So, you know, it's
You're welcome, Disney.
Yes, it's a lot of
You
reciprocation.
needed our help.
Yes, Disney, not an official sponsor. So my shout outs go to, first and foremost, Wayne from Recast 2.0 again for coming on the episode and helping us out. Wrestling World with Austin Boyer, because Austin's always giving us shout outs on his show. The Manic Pixie Weirdo Podcast, Bar Banter Podcast, 8750 with Yeti F. Space Castle Pod, who created our show logo. The Fandalorians. We have some new podcasts on our shout out list this week. The Paranorm Girl Podcast, All Hallows Eve. Today we laughed and learned. Visit Vegas Places Podcast. The Amusement Films Podcast. Two Wizards Podcast. Fan in the Van. An old friend who hasn't had a shout out in a while at Gen TCM. Midnight Horror TV Podcast. The Geeky Dad Podcast. Stop Thinking with Your Butt Podcast, which is an awesome podcast name. And DJ Scoob at the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for your support this week. Our main segment this evening is brought to you by Newsly.
All right, give me a second. Here we go.
I'm drinking.
Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Follow any topic from sports, tech, business, science, even Bitcoin. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from all over 80 countries. Our podcast is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description and use the promo code ANDFERMENT to receive a 1-month free premium subscription. Stop scrolling, start listening. Newsly!
Not me!
Not me. Hey, Kevin?
Yes.
Don't you hate when it sounds like
This when you hear it.
When your voice
Yes,
like
exactly.
When you
Yes,
hear
when I go to listen to an article and that's what I hear, I think, who the hell is that?
You guys are going for ad-libbed ad read?
a little bit. Oh, by the way, gentlemen,
Mm-hmm.
I have moved on to another Kevin beer.
Nice.
Which one's
The
that?
Great Pumpkin Imperial Pumpkin Ale.
That's a good one.
Nice.
That was a
That
good one.
that was very good. Yeah. I'm slowly working through the Long Island. I'm about halfway done.
I'm almost done this porter already.
Wow.
It was a good palate cleanser for the other two I drank. So our main segment this evening is our picks for best ensemble films. So as I said earlier in the show, this is not a best of list. This is not one of our bracket shows. This is each of us picked 5 films that we enjoy watching that are all ensemble films. And I actually cheated on mine. Because for one of them I picked a trilogy, and for the other one I picked every film that a particular person has made. So I figured we can go back and forth with our lists. Each one of us talk about one, go to the next one, and then at the end, I thought maybe we can kind of vote on, of our 15 picks here, which one is the best ensemble film,
Okay.
in our opinion.
Okay.
So I picked first the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now that is a cheat. I picked the trilogy, but my reasoning for it is all 3 films were filmed at the same time. Or not so much at the same time, but they were filmed concurrently in New Zealand and released separately, but all filmed as one, which is a very odd thing for movies. Studios don't usually do that, put out the money to have the sequels filmed before the first film even comes out and to see if it's a success or not. But it is an ensemble film. You have Ian McKellen as Gandalf. We have Elijah Wood as Frodo Baggins, Ian Holm as Bilbo Baggins, Samwise Gamgee played by Sean Astin. You have Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn. You have who was Legolas? Orlando Bloom. You have Liv Tyler. You have Hugo Weaving. I mean, you can keep going on with this. Even Gimli is a fairly well-known actor whose name is escaping me at this point. But he actually plays 2 roles in the film because he is Gimli and he's also the voice of Treebeard. Hold on, Lord of the Rings.
Isn't it not Ray Fiennes?
It's John something.
John Rice.
Yeah, he's got 3 names.
Yeah, John Rice. John Rise and Fall.
Yeah, the guy from Indiana Jones.
The guy from Indiana Jones, yeah.
We also have Andy Serkis as Gollum. You have Christopher Lee as Saruman. My God, there's so many people. Kate Blanchett as Galadriel. I'm going through Dominic Monaghan as Merry. God, John Rhys Davies, that's his name, as Gimli. I mean, it's such a massive cast.
Yeah.
You forgot Boromir.
Boromir, played by Sean Bean.
Sean Bean!
We did a whole podcast on him. Come on, we can't
we did
forget
a whole
that.
podcast. So we could do a whole podcast just on the Lord of the Rings, man.
Yeah.
We did it. If we did a minute by minute.
He died in the field.
Yeah, if we did a minute by minute podcast, it would be a 13-hour podcast.
Wow.
Gentlemen,
you gotta wonder, do certain actors at a certain point before they accept movie roles? And Ian McKellen is coming to mind with this. Does he try to find out what other actors are in the movie? Like, does he feel I have enough? I'm having enough of an ensemble cast that I don't need to carry this all on my shoulders, or am I the big name on this? This is on me. This is going to be like my starring role. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't recall lately, and I'll be honest, I haven't even looked it up, of anything where it's him as the star with a bunch of, like, not B actors, but like lesser known actors. I think the last movie that comes to mind of him like that might have been Apt Pupil, rather.
where he was the star.
Yeah. I mean, it was essentially, that's, you think of that movie, he's the name you think of.
Mm-hmm. I think it's some of it's probably that, like, who else is acting in the film, but also you have to think this is like, at this point in Ian McKellen's career, he was probably at his most famous because he's doing the Lord of the Rings, he's doing the X-Men films, You know,
Mhm.
and then he has enough clout now that he's able to produce and direct the Richard III film that he starred in,
Right.
because he has all this success with these other films. So I mean, like, he might even have a say in who else, you know, gets to be playing in the movie as well. You know, you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it's a good question because also you got to think like Viggo Mortensen originally wasn't Aragorn. It was Stuart Townsend.
Don't say it. Oh, okay.
Stuart
I thought
Townsend,
it was going to be
who
somebody
was in
else.
the Queen of the Damned film.
Hmm.
And then he left because he didn't think he was right for the part. They brought in Viggo Mortensen, and he obviously fit the part because, you know, can't imagine anybody else at Aragorn at this point.
No.
I feel like Lord of the Rings is one of those things we've talked about so much. I don't know what else we can say about it, but it is technically an ensemble film. And
Right.
I'm thinking of like when you asked that question, that made me think of The Godfather. So like The Godfather is technically an ensemble film as well when you look at who stars in it, and the fact that
Yeah.
Hmm.
even though Brando won the Oscar for Best Actor, he actually had the same amount of screen time as Al Pacino,
Hmm.
who was nominated for Supporting Actor. And there were some cast and director suggestions from the studio that Marlon Brando turned down. They originally were going to hire a different director to do it other than Francis Ford Coppola. And when they told Marlon Brando who they were going to hire as the director, he said, well, if you're hiring him, I'm walking off the project.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of the reasons they ended up going with Coppola is because Brando approved of him. So, I mean, yeah, I think when you get to a certain point in your career, you probably do have enough clout to do something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what's the first one on your list?
First one on my list is the 1960 version of The Magnificent Seven.
You didn't want to go with the one with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt?
Nah, I'm going to go with the one with Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, James Corbin, Walter
Dude,
Ball.
for a 1960 cast, man, that's a fucking cast.
It is. Jesus
Mhm.
Christ.
So it's one of my dad's favorite films. I know that he loves that movie. So it's the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much different than the one that's the one with Pratt, but
Mhm.
it's a little bit different. But still going down to Mexico and saving a village.
I thought those were the Three Amigos,
I think
That's
Three
a
which is
different
Amigos,
also an
ensemble.
which is
ensemble
also
cast.
it's also an ensemble cast. I think the Three Amigos was kind of like a spoof of the Magnificent Seven.
Mm.
So yeah, you had Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, Charlie Bronson, Eli Wallach, Robert Vaughn, James Coburn. I mean, that's like a who's who of
Brad
1950s
Dexter.
and 60s
Hmm.
actors, man. It won. I think it won an Oscar for something or another. It might have been nominated at least.
Nominated for one Oscar. Let's see. Nominated
For
for
score for
Best
best
Music.
music. It does have like one of those like iconic theme songs to it.
Mm-hmm.
It actually led to a sequel, The Magnificent Seven Returns.
There's like 3 or 4 sequels.
Yeah, I
for
think
that
there was one like there was Magnificent Seven Returns, and I think there was one called like the Magnificent Seven Ride Again or something like that.
Rides Again, yeah,
I
something
think
like
Yul
that.
Brynner was the only one who really returned for most of them.
Oh, Yule.
It's also a movie it's actually a remake. It's based on a Japanese film by Akira Kurosawa called The Seven Samurai,
Right.
which was the original version of this film. Also, if you're somebody who can handle subtitles, I would suggest you watch any Akira Kurosawa film. They're usually pretty magnificent,
Actually,
like
he
The
is
Magnificent Seven.
considered. He is listed as one of the screenplay writers for the screenplay.
Well, because
Oh.
it's based on his material.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like screenplay from an adapted source or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kev, what's the first one on your list? I love the first one here.
It's The Expendables, the 2010 action-packed superhero movie with all of our favorite 80s actors: Sly Stallone, Dolph Lundgren. Hold on.
Sly Stallone,
Arnold
Jason
Schwarzenegger, Terry
Statham,
Crews, Mickey Rourke.
Bruce
Yeah.
Willis, Jet Li.
Mm-hmm.
Now
All the 80s and 90s super action stars.
you can go by extension. You can throw in the Expendables 2 and Expendables 3 in there too, because they just kept adding to the cast with each one.
Yeah.
So you had what? You had Wesley Snipes in one of them, Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
You had
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis in a couple. You had Chuck Norris in the second one. You had
Harrison Ford made an appearance.
Ford, Kelsey Grammer of all people. All these just different actors getting together. What was basically I feel like it was like an homage to the 80s action films where you have like these giant muscle-bound guys who can't get hurt.
You and I have never laughed so hard during an action movie.
I was going to say, you don't get hurt in these films unless you're Liam Hemsworth. Then you get a fucking spear in the heart in the first 5 minutes of the second film. By Jean-Claude Van Damme, of all people.
Oh, Jesus.
Kevin and I went to see the first Expendables together, and we were the only two people laughing in the theater. Like, we were hysterical laughing with every kill, with every death, with every, like, when Terry Crews comes out with that gun that's just like blowing people into pieces, we were like, this is the funniest shit ever. When Jet Li kicks that guy in the head and cracks his neck in half,
when they're dropping C4 every 3 inches, and they have this exhausted pack of C4 that they're going every 3 inches. There's another pack of C4 around this entire compound.
I love how, like, the whole goal of that film is the Expendables are trying to save this island from this, like, dictator. So their way of saving the island is basically blowing the whole fucking island up.
Of course, that makes
They would
perfect sense.
later steal that plot from Man of Steel. He saves the world by destroying half of it. I also like the unnecessary subplot with Jason Statham and his cheating ex-wife, Charisma Carpenter. Oh my god! And then the second and third film were just as funny. The best part of the second film is when Chuck Norris tells his own Chuck Norris joke. The Expendables. If you're looking for a lighthearted fare that you don't have to think a lot about while you're watching it, we forgot to mention that the first Expendables also has Stone Cold Steve Austin in it.
Oh, I forgot. He
was the henchman to the main villain, played by Eric Roberts. I mean, that's like a who's who, man. That fucking movie. It's hilarious. So we go from a movie like The Expendables to the second one on my list, Glengarry Glen Ross.
You're going to keep it all fucking classy.
Yeah, I had to be all classy. This is a film that if you want to be an actor, watch this movie, because you're getting a master class in what it means to be an actor when you watch this film. It stars Al Pacino, Ed Harris, Alec Baldwin, Kevin Spacey, Jack Lemmon, and Alan Arkin. It is a phenomenal piece. It's based on a stage play by the same name, and it's about these down on their luck, basically real estate con men trying to sell these, like, shitty properties to, like, older people and just, scrape by to get a living. And it's just a lot of interaction in the office, what it's like to live their lives. But just the fact that, man, it's this, like, ensemble of amazing actors all giving it 110%. And then the scene with Alec Baldwin, which is just a 10-minute cameo scene for him, wasn't in the stage play. It was written specifically for the movie. But I can't imagine a movie without that scene. It's a phenomenal scene. Great dialogue, very well-rounded characters. I can't say enough about this movie. It's a film from the 90s that I wish had more of an audience. It did lead to a Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination for Al Pacino, who subsequently also won that year for Best Actor for Scent of a Woman. But I actually think he deserved the Oscar more for this film than he did for Scent of a Woman.
I don't know why I thought this was an 80s movie, not 92.
It feels like an 80s movie.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like an 80s movie because it's. Well, I think the play was written in the 80s, written and performed.
Okay.
And so, like, it feels like an 80s movie, even though it came out in the 90s. I think it was also early in the 90s, too. So it was like that kind of
It's 92, yeah.
That like weird transition period between like the late 80s, early 90s, where it's hard to tell what decade you're watching a movie in.
Right, right.
But it's a great film, and it basically takes place in two locations. You know, it's their office and the Chinese restaurant across the street that they all hang out at. Like that's the only two locations. It's such a great movie. What's up, Bob? You want to say hi to everybody? And we're back.
We're back.
Took a mini break so I can give my wife a kiss and get another beer. So we are on the second one on Mike's list. When I saw you put this one on your list, I was like, "You motherfucker! You took one that I should have had on my list."
Well, I told you the weekend before.
I
that
know,
was
and
putting
I
on
should
my
have
list.
thought of it myself.
The 1967 The Dirty Dozen, starring Lee Marvin, Ernest Borgnine, Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, Telly Savalas, Donald Sutherland, Robert Ryan, George Kennedy, and the character actor Richard Jekyll.
You're missing an important character there too. The one who plays what the hell was the character? I can't remember the character's name. I'm trying to remember the actor's name now too. He actually went on to become a director himself. Dirty Dozen.
John Cassavetes.
John Cassavetes, yeah. So John Cassavetes went on to be a director himself. He plays Franco in the film.
Yes.
He was nominated for three Oscars he has an Oscar nomination as director, an Oscar nomination as a writer, and an Oscar nomination for supporting actor for The Dirty Dozen. Like that's pretty impressive to be nominated in three separate categories like that. One of Lee Marvin's best films. Early movie for Charlie Bronson. It's one of Jim Brown's first movies.
Won the Oscar for best effects and sound effects.
Yes, one for best sound effects, which is a weird Oscar for it to win.
Yes.
It should have been up for best picture, but I don't think it had a chance of winning.
No, probably not.
And this was the basis for. Oh no, wait, that was A Great Escape. Never mind.
Well, Great Escape is another classic film. That's also another like ensemble piece, and that was the basis for Hogan's Heroes.
That's where I was going with that, but
I feel like in the 1960s, a lot of the war movies were all a bunch of ensemble casts.
We have a lot of them in the 60s. You have the Green Berets with John Wayne. You have Dirty Dozen. You got the one.
I think it was easier then because the studios actually
contracted the actors, so it's like yeah.
It's also a time where you had a lot of like those studly men too, like Lee Marvin. You also had Von Ryan's Express with Frank Sinatra in the 60s. So I mean, there was a lot of like war films. It was also because you also had Vietnam going on. So I think it was a lot of it was like these World War II films that were meant to kind of like
boost the support for the soldiers.
Yeah.
I love The Dirty Dozen. One of my favorite films.
Great movie.
I always talked about how it was the film my dad and I were watching the morning of my wedding.
What you didn't know, this was a trivia fact I just read, was that Lee Marvin's was pregnant at the time. So it was actually the Dirty Baker's Dozen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Lee Marvin, one of the most testosterone-fueled actors in the history of Hollywood.
Actually, in the trivia on
he was expecting
IMDb, it says Lee Marvin referred to this movie as crap and just a dumb moneymaker.
Probably one of his most popular films. I always love. I think of here's another ensemble film for you. Reservoir Dogs. It's an ensemble film. You got Harvey Keitel, Steve Buscemi, and all those guys. But there's a great scene in it where Harvey Keitel is just about to fight Michael Madsen's character, Mr. Blonde. They're about to get into a big row, and then they kind of stop and kind of laugh at it. And Michael Madsen points at Harvey Keitel and he goes, "I bet you're a big Lee Marvin fan." And Harvey Keitel goes, "This fucking guy." Great man, great pick. So, Kevin, your second one's a great pick as well.
Yeah. Mine is The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg, Martin Sheen. I believe Alec Baldwin
Alec
has a
Baldwin's
part
in
in
it as
this as
well.
well. Ray Winstone.
Anthony Anderson.
Vera Farmiga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is
And
the movie that finally won Scorsese his Oscar.
Yeah. And this was a nice, this was a New England mob movie.
Irish mob.
You know? Irish mob movie.
It's got some great
Set
quotable
in
lines in
Boston.
it too. I love one of my favorite lines in the film is when you meet Frank Costello for the first time, the Jack Nicholson character, and he's on the beach with Ray Winstone, and he just shoots this woman in the head, and she hits the ground, and he goes, "She fell funny." And Ray Winstone looks at him and he goes, "You need to talk to somebody. You know that." He doesn't. I don't think he gets enough credit for the film Ray Winstone as Mr. Flesh.
Right. No, because he's just a goon, you know?
He's got the great scene where DiCaprio is drinking the cranberry juice at the bar, and the guy goes, "What's the matter? You got your period?" And he beats the shit out of the guy. And Ray Winstone goes, "Only I get to kick people's asses around here. Who the hell are you to kick people's asses?" He goes, "What were you drinking anyway?" And he goes, "Cranberry juice." And he goes, "What's the matter? You got your period?" like testing him out.
Without asking too many questions, do you have anyone in with Costello presently? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
Mark Wahlberg is awesome in that film because he's basically Mark Wahlberg.
He's playing Mark Wahlberg.
He's got a great line where DiCaprio says something to Martin Sheen, and Martin Sheen goes, "Who said that?" And he goes, Henry Thoreau. And Mark Wahlberg goes, "What's the matter? You don't know fucking Shakespeare?" I'm the guy doing my job. Who the fuck are you? He must be the other guy.
Why is the last patient of the day always the hardest? Because you're tired and you don't give a shit. It's not supernatural.
I like the scene where DiCaprio goes to Nicholson's home to meet him and like interview with him, and he's talking to him, and he's holding the dismembered hand as he's talking to him, and he's like pointing at him with the dismembered hand. He's a sick man in that movie, Jack Nicholson. Great film. My next one on the list is Ocean's 11, and you can by extension say Ocean's 12 and 13 as well.
We all knew you were going to put it because this is the movie that made you want to do this.
Yeah.
What about Ocean's 8?
Ocean's 8. Have you seen Ocean's 8?
No,
not great.
No. That's another ensemble cast, but none of us saw it.
And I hate to say it's not great because it's a lot of great actresses in the film, but it just didn't have the same. I don't know, like
je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, it didn't have the same energy as Ocean's 11, and you know it's a shame because I like Sandra Bullock, I like Kate Blanchett. I even don't mind Awkwafina too much, but it just wasn't the same kind of film as Ocean's 11. So Ocean's 11, of course, starred mainly George Clooney and Brad Pitt, but you also had Matt Damon, Julia Roberts, Bernie Mac, Elliot Gould, Casey Affleck, Scott Conn. Who else was in it? Carl Reiner. What was his name?
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle. Thank you. I couldn't remember his name. I mean, it's a hell of an ensemble cast, and everybody has a unique character. They have their unique talents. I love the little Chinese guy that's like the acrobat guy. Where the fuck you been?
Yeah, it's good news.
So, I am.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. 12 was not a great film. I think it was like the most boring of the three. Ocean's 13 was kind of fun because it kind of went back to Ocean's 11 a little bit. Mike, you have an interesting one on number 3 there.
Yeah, but just before I go to number 3, we should all be ashamed of ourselves.
Why is that?
I am. Every day, man. I wake up and that's my first thought.
None of us put Ghostbusters down.
Well, here's the reason why I didn't put Ghostbusters down was because they were just getting into. I mean, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd kind of had an established,
Mhm.
but I would have said those were the only two at the time. I mean,
Sigourney Weaver.
yes, Harold Ramis had, some movies, but I wouldn't say it was like big.
He was.
Ernie Hudson had nothing. Sigourney Weaver still coming into her own. Rick Moranis, yeah,
I,
okay,
I would have
maybe
said. I would have said
Ghostbusters.
if you wanted to say anybody else had a big name in that film, it was probably Sigourney Weaver because she was coming off of the Alien film.
Alien, and
Um,
Rick Moranis had some
he
television
had some television experience. He was supposed to
notoriety.
be John Candy in that role, so he was kind of a backup to begin with. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ernie Hudson was not a well-known actor. Danny Potts
Mm-mm.
was not a well-known actor at the time.
It would have been if they could have gotten Eddie Murphy like they wanted
Yeah.
to for Winston.
For Winston. Harold Ramis was also like split in time between acting and directing.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
would
writing,
also say,
yeah.
it's if you look back on it now I would say it's an ensemble cast because everybody's so
Yeah.
well known now.
Yeah.
But back then, I would have said no because if you really watch it, Bill Murray has the most screen time in that film.
Mm.
True.
It's not an even amount of screen time like you would typically get in an ensemble film. Although it's nowadays I would say yes, it's probably an ensemble film. But if you're basing it back on 1984. But what is your third one there, Mike?
So, talking about the 80s, 1988 classic, Young Guns.
That is a good one.
That is definitely an ensemble.
Kiefer Sutherland,
Mhm.
Charlie Sheen, Lou Diamond Phillips, Jack Palance, Terrence Stamp, Terry O'Quinn,
Emilio Estevez, Casey Shamasco,
Patrick Wayne,
Dermot Mulroney,
John Wayne's son, Patrick Wayne.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great film.
And then you have, the two that are just pretty much
Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
He was in the second one.
Oh, he was in the second one. My bad.
He played
oh my
I don't
gosh,
remember the character's name he played, but he was in the second one.
Frank something or Henry.
I don't remember.
I don't know. He wanted a name. That was the thing. He wanted a name.
Yeah, he was the second one.
Yeah.
Second one starred William Peterson from CSI as Pat Garrett, who was the friend of Billy the Kid.
Also had Viggo Mortensen in it.
It did as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Not as great a film as the first one, though. I think the first one was a better film.
It was. But the second one wasn't terrible.
No, but the first one was the one, if you want to watch a good one, watch the first one. Great shootout scene at the end. Charlie Sheen's only in it for like 20 minutes. Think about it. He gets killed very early in the film.
He does.
It's really an Emilio Estevez vehicle when you think he's Billy the Kid. So he's like the guy you want to see on film.
Right.
But
you see all of them.
Well, I'm going to say
because of the gang.
When you break it down, though, like Kiefer Sutherland gets a lot of time in that film as well.
He does.
Yeah. No, I haven't watched Young Guns in a long time. I gotta pull that up at some point and watch that again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a bit of trivia for you. The song "Blaze of Glory" by John Bon Jovi
second movie
won an Oscar. But I was going to say yes, but it was for the second movie. Kev, your third one is one that I'm so angry at myself for not putting this on my list.
Well, look, this is an 80s ensemble. This is the, one of the ultimate 80s ensembles. You had Tim Curry. Oh, I'm sorry. I should probably say it's Clue.
Yes.
It's the board game brought to life, an underrated movie. It's funny as hell. If you pay attention, it's hysterical. It's based off of the game where, it's a whodunit. There are people dying throughout it, and it's got Tim Curry, it's got Madeline Kahn, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean, Eileen Brennan, Martin Mull, Leslie Ann Warren. Man, I had the hots for Leslie Ann Warren.
I always thought for the longest
back
time,
in the 80s.
For the longest time, I thought it was what's her face? Oh my god! These fucking beers have messed me up so bad tonight.
Bernadette Peters,
Susan Sarandon.
Oh no, I could
Leslie
see
and Warren
that. Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
very similar appearances.
They
They
do. They
do.
had very similar look. But man, I thought Leslie Ann Warren was hot.
I was more about
Um,
Colleen Camp as a vet.
oh, well, that's true. Yes, yeah. Madeline Kahn at the time was pretty attractive too. You
No,
know.
she always was. Like I just watched Blazing
Yeah.
Saddles recently again, and I forgot like how
Mm-hmm.
awesome she
A
is.
flame
The flames
on my
silence.
cheek. Face.
Flames
I'm gonna
on the
go
side of
home
my
and make love
face.
to my wife. I'm a
It's
plant.
just a
Don't
red
they call
herring.
guys like you a fruit? So this is like actually like probably one of the best examples of ensemble because not one person in this film is really like a superstar.
No.
Right.
Yeah. So like Madeline Kahn has always been like a character actress in a lot of the Mel Brooks films. Tim Curry is known for playing all these like quirky roles anyway. Christopher Lloyd is still 2 years away from doing Back to the Future. So at this point, he's pretty much known for Taxi.
Yeah, for Taxi.
Eileen Brenneman was a TV actress who very rarely did film. Same with Martin Mull. He was a stand-up comedian.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy, the one that plays Mr. Green, was on Laverne and Shirley.
Michael McKean.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
like,
He was Squiggy. No, he wasn't
was
Squiggy. He was Lenny.
Lenny. So it was kind of like this is like a perfect example of an ensemble cast because you have
Mm-hmm.
all these actors who share equal screen time, but none of them are like superstar actors.
Yeah.
And it's such a smartly comedic film.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a piece of trivia for you on it. In the game Clue, in the board game, no two characters can be in the hallways at the same time. The characters have to be in individual rooms. You can only have like one character in the hallway. So whenever you see the characters in the movie in the hallway together, there's always at least two characters running into each other because you're not supposed to be there. The fourth one on my list is Pulp Fiction. So I had mentioned Reservoir Dogs earlier. I actually was tossing it up here for Quentin Tarantino films. I could have did Pulp Fiction. I could have did Reservoir Dogs. I could have did Inglourious Bastards. I could have did Django Unchained because it feels like a lot of his films are ensemble films.
Right.
But I felt like Pulp Fiction, even though Reservoir Dogs is his first film, Pulp Fiction is the one that made him who he is. It was his first successful film. He won the Oscar for Best Screenplay for it. He was nominated for Best Actor. It was the return of John Travolta to the A-list. You had Samuel L. Jackson in his first major role, Uma Thurman, Ving Rhames, Bruce Willis, Eric Stoltz, Rosanna Arquette. Steve Buscemi has a cameo role in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Brian Dennehy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those films, man. It made a lot of names for a lot of people. Another wholly quotable film, especially my favorite scene starring the amazing Christopher Walken and the whole watch speech.
Excuse me.
Which I won't get into it again. I've imitated that speech many times on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, what is your fourth one?
Mine is the 1992. My favorite 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon movie, A Few Good Men.
It's an awesome movie for playing 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
We got Tom
It's
Cruise.
an awesome movie.
It's awesome
Just
movie
an
in
awesome
general,
movie.
Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Kevin Bacon, Demi Moore, Kiefer Sutherland, Kevin Pollak, J.T. Walsh, Noah Wiley, Cuba Gooding Jr., Matt Craven. I mean,
I forget that Noah Wiley has a brief scene.
Kubrick, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, this is loaded with stars all over the place.
Chock full of stars.
Yeah.
Also has one of the greatest monologues in movie history.
I want truth.
You can't handle the truth.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. Amazing. So this is a
You may not like what I do, but you don't get to criticize the way that I do it.
You sleep under the blanket of freedom I provide and question how I provide it. Did you order the code red? You're goddamn right I did. I love what you got to watch. Look, you can find it on YouTube. Kevin Pollak, who was in the movie,
Yeah.
does a great Jack Nicholson impression, and he does this impression of Jack Nicholson on the set of A Few Good Men, and how Rob Reiner would say action, and he would immediately get in character and be like, "You want me on that wall? You need me on that wall." And he goes, then he would yell, "Cut!" And all of a sudden, he was like the drunk, like crazy Jack Nicholson that everybody knows. And he'd be sitting on like the stand, like looking around, like he didn't know where he was, and be like, "Robbie, how was that scene?" And then immediately yell action. All of a sudden, he was back at it again. I remember this being like a stacked year for the Oscars, man.
I'm gonna rip the eyes out of your head and piss on your dead skull. You fuck with the wrong Marine.
He's got a great line where he's like, "There's nothing like a blowjob from a superior officer. Except now that I'm a colonel, I'm gonna have to wait for some broad to become president."
Okay.
I love Aaron Sorkin movies to begin with, and this was just another quality, story from Aaron Sorkin.
So here's oh my god, man, this is crazy. So the year for this movie came out, 1993 Oscars. Gene Hackman wins Best Supporting Actor for Unforgiven. Great movie, another great performance. But Jack Nicholson was nominated that year for A Few Good Men. Al Pacino was nominated that year for Glengarry Glen Ross. Jay Davidson nominated that year for The Crying Game. I mean, there's a lot of actors in that category. And I'm trying to think like by movie here. Let's see. Best Picture was Unforgiven won for Best Picture. Also that year was The Crying Game, A Few Good Men, Howard's End, and Scent of a Woman. That's it.
Hooah!
That's a stacked year for movies, man. I think the right movie won. Unforgiven is an amazing film. But A Few Good Men, I think, was a very, very tight runner-up that year.
Yeah. It was
your fourth film there, Kev?
X-Men, the 2000 version of X-Men, which was sorry about that. That was Hugh Jackman's breakout role, and I would say that's fair to say it was his breakout role, right? I think that was supposed to go to, why can't I think of his name? The Scottish actor.
I'm gonna look it up now.
It's Douglas. I can't think of his name. I know. Anyway, but you got Patrick Stewart. Our favorite Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Ian McKellen reintroducing us to Famke Janssen. It had James Marsden. Halle Berry was pretty big at the time. Anna Paquin was equally big at the time. Rebecca Romaine Stamos at the time. I keep knocking over the rum. I'm just going to have to drink the rest of the bottle. And then you had the introduction of others, James Marsden, Tyler Mane, who I believe was a wrestler prior to the movie.
He was a professional wrestler.
Okay. And Ray Park, the actor everybody sees but nobody knows, Ray Park playing Toad, but his notoriety was also Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe movies, as well as our favorite Sith, Darth Maul.
Here, I got them for you, Kev. The actor whose name you're trying to think of that was almost cast as Wolverine is Dougray Scott.
Douglas Scott.
Dougray.
What's his name?
Dougray Scott.
Dougray Scott.
He was
I was
the
saying
villain
Douglas,
in Mission
but
Impossible 2.
That's right.
So he was almost cast as. Listen to this list. He was almost cast as Wolverine, but other actors that the studios had in mind. Ready? Mel Gibson. No, I don't think that's a good fit at all.
No.
Gary
No.
Sinise.
What?
Gary Sinise, great actor. I don't think he fits the role. Johnny Depp.
Lieutenant Dan, you got claws.
Johnny Depp, Keanu Reeves, Thomas Jane, who would later go on to play the Punisher. Edward Norton. Viggo Mortensen. I think I could see Viggo Mortensen in the role, maybe.
I could maybe see Viggo Mortensen.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Aaron Eckhart.
Your Prime, maybe.
Russell Crowe. And this is my
He
favorite.
might have pulled it
This
off
is my
too
favorite.
at that
my favorite
time,
one.
2000.
The original actor who was named for the role was Bob Hoskins. Like that is not a lie. Bob Hoskins was like early in the development of the film. He was named for it, but this was back when they were talking like early '80s, making an X-Men film.
Oh, okay.
But that's not the weirdest one. The weirdest one was for a while the studio was
Rowan Atkinson.
No, the studio was looking at Glenn Danzig, who was the former lead singer of the Misfits punk band. Yes, that's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
But as we were talking about the pre-show, the original X-Men film, is a good example of Ensemble because at the time you're talking about a bunch of actors who were not real well known and who all had equal screen time, basically. And it's not until like the later films where Wolverine kind of becomes the main character.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did.
That's a good point.
First one was more about Anna Paquin.
Yeah, I think they did themselves a service hiring somebody lesser known to play Wolverine.
Yes.
Because they didn't go in with any expectations, and you didn't go in looking at like, oh, I know who that actor is too. So it's more like
Hugh Jackman was the Luke Skywalker of
basically
X-Men.
That's
he was Mark Hamill, fresh face.
Not to get too far off topic. That's always been a weakness I think of George Lucas is he likes to hire unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not always a good thing.
Not always.
The last one on my list is definitely a cheat. I put down as some of my favorite ensemble films, every Wes Anderson film ever made.
But they are
ensemble because he's one of those directors that has his he has his stable.
He has his crew, and then he has his add-ons to his crew.
So
he always has Owen Wilson.
You always have Owen Wilson. You always have Bill Murray. Kate Blanchett's one of his regulars. Ed Norton's one of his regulars.
Jason Schwartzman's
in every one of his films. He gets Tilda Swinton a lot in his movies. Willem Dafoe is in a lot of his films. Jeff Goldblum's in a lot of his films.
Adrian
Brody's in a lot of his movies. So it's like, he has his selection of actors. And he's an acquired taste, Wes Anderson. I know he's not for everybody, but I really enjoy his films. Mike, your last one on your list is another one I debated on as well, and I also debated on this and another film.
Well, I was debating all of them, and I went with this one because it does have the most actors in it.
Exactly.
It's Avengers Endgame. You got Downey, Evans, Ruffalo, Helmsworth, Johansson, Runner, Cheadle, Rudd,
Krug,
Cumberbatch, Boseman, Larson.
We started
Gillen, Evangeline Lilly, Renee Russo.
Renee Russo.
Yeah, she's Thor's mom.
That's right. Yeah,
Thor's mom.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about her.
Shit.
Elizabeth Olsen, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Tom Hiddleston.
Wow.
Brian Dennehy.
There's so many people in the freaking
Dave
film. It's
Bautista, John Favreau, Haley Atwell, Natalie Portman, Angela Bassett, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, William Hurt,
Dustin Diamond.
Horiki.
He played the Screech.
Gwyneth Paltrow, Robert Redford, Josh Brolin, Chris Pratt, Samuel L. Jackson.
One of the last movies for William Hurt, playing General Ross.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. You're talking voice actors.
No, I know. Like Bradley Cooper. You have Vin Diesel as the voice of Groot.
Vin Diesel.
You have
I'm sure there's plenty I've skipped over.
Sean Gunn as Kraglin, but he's also the body double for Rocket the Raccoon. I mean it's crazy. I agree with you. Like I thought I thought the original Avengers film
was an ensemble.
A little bit as an ensemble, and Infinity War But Endgame, it's an amazing as an ensemble because Infinity War and Endgame are both amazing as ensembles because they find something for every character to do. Like there's no
Exactly.
wasted storyline. There's
Mm.
there's no Last Jedi casino planet.
Taylor Swinston,
You know, Tilda
ancient
Swinton is
one.
the
Yeah.
ancient one. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I keep finding more.
Oh, you can go on and on, man. There's so many people in this film. That's a great choice.
Oh, Zoe, son, so Gamora.
Oh,
Zoe
Zoe Saldana.
Saldana.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have
Thank you.
Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. You got
Mhm.
Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. You know Josh
Yeah,
Brolin
she
as
was on- yeah.
Thanos. You got you can go on and on, man. That's a good one.
Benedict Wong.
Benedict Wong. Wongers.
But surprisingly, no Nick Fury.
No Nick Fury.
Yeah, he's there.
He's in it.
In Endgame?
Yes,
Are you
in
sure?
he's
Where's he
listed
coming?
on IMDb.
He's listed. I'm replaying the movie in my head, and he's well since gone. Except for the funeral scene. The funeral scene is where we see Nick
Mhm.
Fury.
Yeah.
You're right. He is in there.
You got to remember
Oh,
the
shit,
funeral
then
scene
you
because it
also
also has the kid from Iron Man 2 in it.
That's true.
And Kevin's last one.
And I also thought of one more after this, but I mean, we can discuss this in a quick little. How you doing? Less miserable.
Less miserable.
I'm sorry. Les Miserables. Les Miserables. Blah 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 blah. This I'm going back with the Hugh Jackman. I got a Hugh Jackman that I want to talk to you guys about. But this is an all-star cast. It's got Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe. It's got Anne Hathaway, Amanda Seyfried, Sacha Baron Cohen, Helena Bonham Carter, Eddie Redmayne, Brian Dennehy, Aaron Trevitt, Samantha Barks.
Brian Dennehy has been dead for like 20 years at the point of all these movies that you're sticking him in.
I miss Brian Dennehy.
He was in that great ensemble film Tommy Boy.
I was thinking Cocoon. Talk about an ensemble cast.
Les Miserables is a great film. I think it's one of the better musical adaptations.
Yeah.
Oscar for Anne Hathaway.
You mean Cats didn't do it for you?
Cats didn't do it. The minute they told me they were taking out the CGI assholes, I was like, I'm done. Les Miserables is an amazing film. Great film. Great. I mean, Anne Hathaway's performance alone is worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
It's only about a 15-minute role, but it's also one of my favorite plays to begin with, so it's easy for me to like the film.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to say, gentlemen? Kevin, were you going to throw grown-ups in there too?
So, now, oh, that's an ensemble.
That's an ensemble. You got
No,
Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Kevin James,
Chris Rock, David
James. Spade. Mike started walking away from the computer.
Yeah, because I was going to go with like Stand By Me or Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is a great one.
No, but thinking about it, I mean, I was thinking Spider-Man No Way Home. If you're talking about a culmination of all the Spider-Man movies, you couldn't get a bigger ensemble than that, Even though it does focus on Tom Holland, his universe initially, but to bring in Willem Dafoe, to bring in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and
Bless you.
that one,
I hear you. That's a good one. Mike, do you have any beer wisdom for us this evening?
I do. Imagine life without beer. Now slap yourself and never do it again.
I can imagine life without beer if the only choice was cherry souffle. So revisiting drinks, I enjoyed the rich, sexy porter from Founders. I washed it all down with an Unterdog from Yards because I knew I was going to like that one. I wouldn't recommend the Hocho from Lord Hobo Brewing. And you don't have to worry about the cherry souffle because they don't make it anymore.
Thank God.
That should not end up in any more beer
No.
baskets.
Kev, how are you doing with your Long Island iced tea there?
It is since gone. I don't think I should do another. I still have work tomorrow. It's been a while, and I think the only thing I'd say is I made it in a rush, and my jigger had a 2-ounce side and a 4-ounce side, and what I needed was 3 ounces of each. So my vodka was a little heavy, and I'm not a huge vodka fan. But all in all, I think I made myself a pretty good one. Going back to my bartending days and recalling that, I was making it and my wife said, "Oh, you just need a little bit of Coke." I said, "You also need to top it with like some OJ or some sour mix." She goes, "What?" I said, "It's got to have a slightly lemon taste, slightly
just some
citrusy
lemon
taste."
juice.
Or lemon juice.
Or just some lemon juice, right? And I put a little orange in. She goes, "I never seen that done before." I said, "Well, look, it changed the color. It's more of an iced tea-ish color, a light brown, and it's got that hint of citrus
Say,
to it."
listen,
She goes,
woman, I was a
"Okay."
bartender.
Pretty much. That's exactly how I speak to my wife. "Listen, woman." Yes,
And
dear.
Mike,
And then she smacks you down. Yeah.
Pretty
Mike,
much.
how are your beers?
Yes, dear.
Both my beers were wonderful. I highly recommend it.
Okay. Back on. Thanks for joining us tonight for episode 82, where we talked about our favorite ensemble films. Remember, if you have an ensemble film of your own that you would like to hear us talk about, let us know in our email, filmsandfermentation@gmail.com, or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. We'll give you a shout out on the next show. In the meantime, we hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between pickled and fermented next week as we present episode 83. In this episode, we're bringing back the bracket. And we are going to do our tournament.
The Brad Pitt?
The bracket.
We're bringing back the bracket.
We're bringing back the bracket. I said it right. I'm not that drunk.
It didn't sound like it on our
Didn't
end.
sound
Hold
it on our
excuse
end.
me. Next week on episode 83 of Films and Fermentation, we are bringing back the bracket. That's right. Bringing back the bracket on Films and Fermentation After Dark. So join us next week for episode 83, the bracket episode. This time around, the bracket is going to include the best movie duos, like Jay and Silent Bob,
Tango and
Cash,
Turner and
Lady
Hooch.
and the Tramp.
So are we doing fictional or real actors?
What?
Tango
They're
and
all
Cash.
fictional.
I was
doing
talking
Abbott
about
and
the
Costello.
characters that the actors are playing, so like the duos within the film. You know what I mean?
So were you thinking like Abbott and
Like
Costello?
Abbott and Costello, you
and-
mean?
Yeah,
I mean, technically, they're playing
Real
fictionalized
duos.
versions of themselves. So,
but they're a known duo.
oh my God, let me make the bracket up, and then you can criticize me afterwards.
I'm just asking which way we're going.
I just figured.
Where does Brad Pitt fit in with all this?
I'm glad we figured this out before I introduced it at the end of the episode. Kate,
They'll still tune in. They'll
What-
still
what did you
listen.
say
This
for
is
the- for
comedic
duo?
genius.
Katie said Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito in Twins.
Well, there's more than one movie, so yeah.
Oh, Katie said I gotta rewrite "I'm bringing sexy back" to "I'm bringing the bracket back."
I'm bringing bracket back.
Because
What?
you have all this
Yeah,
free
I do.
time.
I have a lot of it. So episode 83 will be the bracket episode for best film duos. We'll be deciding later on what kind of fucking duos we're talking about. In the meantime, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.